Right, welcome everyone. We've got a good group in here now. I think we're going to have another few trickle in over the next few minutes, but I want to go ahead and get started with tonight. So big welcome to all of you. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Rebecca Barr, and I'm the Manager of Institutional Relations here at EF Gap Year. And I'm really excited to be talking to all of you. I want to quickly introduce you to Sophie. You can't see her right now, but you will later. She's one of our gap semester students from spring 2019. Who took a gap in the middle of college, and I'm really excited to be chatting with her later on. So we're just going to start off with my part of the presentation, and then you'll get to hear from Sophie about midway through. Before we get started, I want to just quickly remind you of a couple of Zoom etiquette reminders. Everyone should be automatically muted to keep the background noise to a minimum. And we know you'll have some questions as we go along, so you can see that Q&A box down at the bottom. Feel free to pop those in whenever you think of them. We're gonna hold all the questions to answer until the end, but please throw them in there whenever you think of them. And feel free to direct them to either me or Sophie as you go. We're happy to take those questions at the end. So I'm just gonna turn my video off so you guys can focus on the slides here. Great. So I just want to give you a quick idea of the agenda tonight. First of all, we want to address the elephant in the room, the coronavirus situation. We'll give you some updates on that and clarify our response to the current situation. And then we're going to move on to the fun stuff, gap years, how to make it work while you're in college. We'll provide this sort of high-level overview of what some of the research shows about taking a gap, both in general and in college specifically. And then we'll move on to some of the specifics of our gap program and how it can be customized to fit the needs specifically of students taking a mid-college gap. And then we'll move into the fun part, a conversation with Sophie, as I mentioned. And after that, she and I will chat for a bit and we'll move into some Q&A time. So let's start with COVID-19. We all know the world has been looking pretty different lately, and it's been really hard. We're all at home and we're all doing our best to work through what this current new normal situation looks like. So we really want to start off by giving you clarity about how we look at this situation and how we're handling it. So when it comes to our program and to EF in general, safety and student health is our #1 concern. Our mission at EF here for over 55 years has been opening the world through education. And that's something that we're still really feeling excited about and really confident to do moving forward. I actually think this mission is just as important, if not perhaps more important, in the midst of a global crisis like this. I think this is when we need more global citizens who are ready to tackle these global issues that we're facing today. So I'm really excited to be a part of that mission. We're really proud of how we've handled the situation so far at EF Gap. We had students on program when this situation arose back earlier in the spring. And we made the decision to bring back our students. We arranged all their flights and coordinated all of that for them as soon as the travel advisory was issued by the Department of State. So we made all of those necessary travel arrangements, got them all back safely and quickly. And for all of you who are listening tonight, I know that you're really wondering about the future. So I want to give you some clarity on that. We have been and we will continue to monitor everything happening. And based on the most up-to-date information, we'll work really hard to give our students the best opportunity for an amazing gap year experience. Right now, we don't really want to make a September decision with April information. So for this fall, as of right now, we are planning to run our fall in-year programs as planned, but we also know how important flexibility is in a time like this. So we've extended our risk-free cancellation period until the end of June, meaning that if a student enrolls, they can change their destinations or cancel until then for a total refund. And as always, we really work with families and with you guys on a one-to-one basis, meaning that we help you find the best solution for you, should your plans change or should the world change. And because I know we're talking about colleges today, I know you're all thinking about that whole world. So colleges like us are really grappling with these changes and thinking about what next year will look like. We're really closely monitoring and keeping in touch with what steps colleges are taking and how it will interact with our program. We know college might look a little different next year, and we want to make sure that we are here as a resource for students who are, who are thinking critically about their next steps in the fall and throughout the coming academic year. So I hope that gives you guys some clarity on that. And let's jump right into the fun stuff. This is a photo of Sophie. I had to throw it in here. Just an incredible photo. We've actually seen in the last couple of months many more students than in the past who have approached us interested in taking a mid-college gap. And there are a few reasons we've identified for this. So some students are questioning the investment in an expensive degree when they may be taking classes online next year, and there's just a lot of uncertainty there. We see others who are feeling called now more than ever to connect with and to give back to the world around them through service learning and cultural immersion, which I think is just an incredible thing to be feeling in this current moment. We see others who are really wanting to gain that real life experience that they can get through an international internship to make themselves more competitive for future work opportunities. So whatever your reasoning is, whatever your story is, you're in the right place. So let's get started with the basics. What is a gap year exactly? I'm sure you have all heard the term, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But this is the definition from the Gap Year Association. And they define a gap year as a semester or a year on, typically taken between one's high school and college in order to deepen one's personal, practical, and professional awareness. So I want to unpack this definition a little bit. So as it says, a gap year is a year on, not a year off. So sometimes there are these misconceptions about a gap being a time when students spun around or lose focus. But as we'll really see as we go through this presentation, there are actually all of these proven outcomes of gap years that show a lot of positive personal, educational, and professional growth. And I think this is being challenged now more than ever as more and more people decide to take a gap. I also want to unpack the phrase typically taken between high school and college, because while that may be the majority of students, there's actually a lot of diversity in terms of who is taking a gap and where they're at on their path. So I wanted to share this graph with you here, which shows gap year timing. So as you can see here, this is from a Gap Year Association survey. They do this survey every 5 years. It's longitudinal, so it's all people who have ever taken a gap year who are eligible to take it. I actually just took it this year, the new 2021, since I did a gap year back in the day myself. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the new data that comes out. But this is the most up-to-date data we have right now, and it shows that about 3/4 of students who take a gap are doing it between high school and college. But there's this amazing 25% here almost that are just like you. They're taking a gap during college or after college. And I think another stat, which isn't showcased here on this slide, but that's really important to note, is that of those who took a gap during college, 52% of them, about half of them, returned to the same institutions. So they went back to their same college, feeling renewed, excited to be back. And about 37% of them transferred to a different college. So this means that there are a lot of different paths to take with a gap. So whether your goal is to go back to your same campus with a clearer view of what you want to do, or if you're ready to start those transfer applications, this gap can be for you. Like I said, these students fall into a few different buckets. We have some students who have completed their associate's degree at a community college, and they want to take a gap after that to gain some real world skills and be really prepared to finish their degree at a 4-year college. We also talk to students who use the gap as a bridge year after college. So that's kind of a way for them to explore the world, develop skills before entering the workplace, or perhaps a graduate degree program, an MBA, law school perhaps. And we also talk to quite a few students who approach us who are in college. They're not finding themselves completely satisfied or excited about their current path. And they really want to take some time away for a year or for a semester to figure out what it is that they want to be doing and studying and all of that good stuff. So that's Sophie's story. You'll hear that later on. But we know these students who come to us in the middle of college or as they're about to graduate have different needs from a program that are just a little bit different than students who have just graduated from high school. So it's pretty amazing. Our team of gap year consultants works really closely with them to craft an itinerary and set goals with them that allow them to shine and really achieve what they want out of their gap year. This is a great quote, and I just want to touch on it again, which it's a quote from the Dean of Admissions at Middlebury, who says, gap year students bring more to their college experience and as a result derive more from it. I think this is a really important thing to note because higher education today is more important now than ever, but it also comes with a really high price tag and a high level of competitiveness. So when thinking about college as an investment in a student and in their future success, it's really important that students go through the college experience at the optimal time in their lives and in their personal development for them to be able to get the most out of it. And there's this cultural shift that's been happening gradually for a while now here in the US. So in Europe, taking a gap year is the norm, whether it's before college, during college, after college. It's actually weird if you don't take a gap year at some point. And while we're definitely not quite there yet in the US, we're seeing an increasing awareness of the positive effects of a gap. And we're super excited here at EF to continue to develop that cultural shift towards taking a gap and help students, really succeed in college and in their life more successfully and ready to maximize their potential. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just wanted to highlight 6 big buckets that I hope will help you remember. These are statistically proven advantages that GAP students have. They're better prepared on college campuses. They actually make higher grades. There are a lot of stats that show that students who take a gap have a higher GPA than students who don't. They have more leadership roles. They're more socially aware, which makes sense. They've seen the world around them. They graduate faster than students who don't take a gap. And they have better first jobs, which I think means a few different things, right? Not only is it a more successful job, but it's also a job that can be better chosen by them after seeing the world around them and opening their eyes to new experiences that they can have while on their gap. So I want to transition now to talk a little bit about the actual process between between gap and college. A quick caveat, every college is different and I can't advise you on the specifics of your school, but I think what's most important to remember is that the ultimate goal is to do what's best for you and your school should be supporting you in that. So these are some steps that we recommend students take when they're thinking about taking a gap. First, talk with your academic advisor. Really explain to them where you're at personally, what you're thinking about, and what your goals are for your gap. The second step would be to look at your financial aid options, talk to the financial aid office about how to carry over financial aid and scholarships. I know Sophie can talk a little bit about that and how it worked for her later on. And finally, think about your return plan. Are you planning to go back to the same school and change majors or departments within your university perhaps? Are you thinking about transferring? Just make a plan for that and get help from us here at EF or from other sources in your life who can help you make that plan. One thing we do hear from students who are looking to take a gap in college is that there's no real one point person to go to make it happen. So you have to be able to put in that work to make this experience happen for yourself. And we at EF can really help you if you're looking for someone to help guide you through the weird process of figuring out how to make a gap work for you. These are just a few tips I wanted to throw out there. When you're taking a gap, there are a lot of gap experiences like our program where you can keep earning credits during your gap that can be applied to your degree. So if that's something that's really important to you, and I know it is for a lot of you, that's definitely an option for your gap. You don't have to put your whole college process on hold. You can actually incorporate it into your gap semester or year. Another thing you can do is boost your professional skills and resume with an internship. So again, that's part of our program and that's a part of a lot of students' gap years, but they want to really gain that professional hands-on experience so that when they are applying for jobs later, they can have this demonstrative proof that they have all of these professional skills. Another couple of tips, a semester may be easier to do if you want to return to your college. As I said, it really depends on colleges, but if you're facing some folks saying, no, you can't do a whole year at your college, ask about a semester. A semester is generally a lot easier to do than an entire year at many schools. So make sure you think about your plan and explore all the options for you to see how you can make your gap work. And finally, get motivated. So it's really exciting to return after having a gap experience. So I want to walk a little bit through what that looks like in a minute. I also want to highlight the fact that there are a lot of students that transfer during their gap year. And I think some of the things that come into that when you're doing those applications are the things that I mentioned above, like those 6 big buckets of skills that students learn and achieve during their gap. Those really set you up to be successful in your transfer applications, as well as just generally having clearer academic and personal goals. A gap year is really a time for a lot of students to figure out what it is that they're passionate about, what it is that they want to be doing in life. And that can help guide you in this application process if you're choosing to reapply then. Again, too, we also offer at EF a college application workshop, which happens during the winter break of a gap year. So if that's something that you're interested in as part of your gap experience to work on those transfer applications, we can definitely help you incorporate that. Thinking about after taking a gap, I think these are the 3 R's that we like to talk about when we think about what happens after it's over. Reflect, return, and re-engage. So reflect on how the experience has shaped you, how it's maybe changed your goals or your path in ways that you didn't anticipate. That way you're able to return to college with a clearer path, a clearer idea of where you want to go in the world. And finally, Reengage. It's really exciting to come back to the community that you've been in or to a new community. But sometimes it can be a tricky adjustment, and it's a really exciting thing to do to be able to think ahead, plan for your return, and make those connections when you get back, share your experiences. Because one thing about a gap is that it doesn't just stay with you. Your stories and what you've experienced affects your whole community. So it's a great way to be able to share what you've learned with other folks. So we've talked on a general level about how great gap years are and how all that process works. I want to talk a little bit about how we practice what we preach here at EF. So as a brief overview, we have 52,000 plus staff in 114 countries around the world and 55 years of experience in navigating global educational travel. So I think that makes us really a strong, we have a strong presence in the world today. Everywhere you go on your gap, we have staff or schools or offices in each country. So we always have local support and knowledge for students as you go through your process. On top of that, we have a team of amazing advisors here in Boston who help you prepare, who work with you throughout your entire year. So you always have support throughout your whole program. So a little bit about the components of our program. We really crafted it around our educational philosophy, and we've designed it to incorporate a lot of the top experiences that students look for in a gap year. This includes travel, giving back to the world through some kind of service learning, studying a language and being immersed in it, and gaining work experience through an internship. So I'm going to quickly walk you through the timeline of our gap programs. I want to save a lot of time for Sophie and I to chat. But I do want to outline this quickly, but if you have any questions, it's not going to be a full overview, so please chime in at the end. This is the EF gap year timeline. It combines several of the types of experience, as I mentioned, that students want to have during their gap year. It starts with an orientation and moves into a European, a European immersion program where students get to spend 2 weeks exploring Amsterdam, Barcelona, Paris, and London. Then students move into their first custom module, which is language. So students are studying at one of our EF language schools across the globe. Maybe they're brushing up on Spanish in Costa Rica, taking Japanese in Tokyo. There are so many amazing options there. Then we get to the service learning module. These are projects that are focused on environmental issues, community development, and they are in places from Thailand to Tanzania. There are some really incredible options there for students to explore a new place and really give back to the community there. Then we have the break or the college application workshop that I mentioned earlier. Students get to come home, they get to show everyone their photos, get everyone excited about that. Then students head to Australia and New Zealand. They come back to do this 3 intensive weeks of exploration and learning there. A lot of amazing outdoor activities in addition to exploring the big cities around there. And then students go into their final custom module, which is an internship. So we work really closely with students to place them in a company in one of several global cities. They have a lot of choice there in terms of what type of experience they want to have, and we work to place them with a company that fits their goals and also their experience. Finally, we have the Leadership Academy, which really sets students up for future success by helping them process their gap experience. I'm getting to hear from some amazing speakers, all coming together, doing a lot of leadership development activities. And it's a really great way to cap off the program. And like I said, really reflect on that time and come out of it feeling ready to re-engage in the world. This is the gap semester, which is another unique part of our program. So for those who can't be away quite as long as the year, our 12-week gap semesters begin in September or January. So in our semester program, you get to pick 2 options for your custom modules. So it could be language and service, service and an internship, language and an internship. You can really configure it the way that you want to make it work for you. So I'm just going to walk quickly through these custom modules. We have the language study, as I mentioned. It's one thing to study a language in a classroom. It's another to be really immersed in it. So there are just a lot of great opportunities at language schools across the globe to choose from. Next, we have service learning. So service learning, as I said, all about giving back. Whether you're working with sea turtles in Costa Rica, teaching English in Thailand, developing infrastructure in Peru, you get the experience of both being engaged in a community and traveling within the country, which is awesome. You get to really see some of the amazing parts of the country in addition to the projects that you're working on. And finally, the internship. There are so many amazing internship opportunities for students. It's a really great way for them to take their first big step as an adult as well. They're living on their own. They're doing that 9 to 5, the commute, all of that good stuff. So it's really a way for students to build on the experiences they've had so far and then have an experience really working and living as an adult. And I do want to highlight a little bit some of the documented skills that students come out of with our gap year program. So they have the skills for their resume and CV that they gained in their internship. They receive an individualized student report, which Sophie's actually going to show you hers later, that tracks their goals, accomplishments, and successes. Like I said, they can earn college credits. So they can earn up to 9 semester credits through our educational partner, Southern New Hampshire University. And they can even join our Global Scholars Program, where they can earn a university level certificate. And I'm happy to walk you through any of those more in the Q&A if you have any questions. So these are the 3 big takeaways, and then we're going to move into the time with me and Sophie. So many students take gaps during and after college. There's no right or wrong time to take a gap. Taking a mid-college gap can help you figure out the path that's best for you. And here at EF Gap, we are here as a resource for you as you plan for your future, and we'd love to see how we can help. All right, now I want to introduce Sophie. So Sophie is one of our amazing alumni. She did an EF Gap Spring in the 2019 semester. She did an internship in Sydney, service in Tanzania, and right now she's at Loyola University in Chicago. She'll graduate next year with a marketing and management major and a film and digital media minor, and she's just awesome. So I'm really excited to jump in and let her share her stories. So I'll turn my video back on too, and we can have a little chat. Sophie, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I have a few questions I want to go through with you. And I want to start off with, the big one, which is, why did you decide to take a mid-college gap?
Well, I decided to take a gap semester ultimately to really just give me a break from that routine I was living in for the past 15 years of my life. I really thought that, society really expects you to live on a certain timeline, and you really hit on this to the core on the PowerPoint, or on the little presentation there. You go to grade school to get into high school to get a job, or high school to get to college to get a job, and so on. And it's really like the United States as a society, we're just expected to live that way. But I came across this program and I really realized that my life doesn't have to be in such a strict timeline to fulfill society's expectations. And I knew that I actually didn't even want to take a gap semester until I came across this program specifically, because I knew that my biggest dream ever since I could remember was to travel. And I'm from a really big family, so it's really hard for us to, have that opportunity. So I saw this and I was like, one, I don't have to fulfill society's expectations by living on that timeline. And 2, this program can make my dreams a reality. As cheesy as that sounds, it's so true. And it was honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Oh, I love hearing that. Love it. And so you walked us a little bit through your decision-making process before. So talk me through the process for you once you made the decision to take a gap, right? So in terms of talking with your college, what obstacles did you have to overcome? Maybe talk about your scholarship and financial aid situation and how that carried over, just to give people an idea of what those specifics look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely I decided on my own, and then I had a lot of conversations with my parents talking about different things that they were concerned about. And I ultimately ended up winning them over and letting them trust me to do this. But and then I really had to look into all my scholarship information. So I go to Loyola University Chicago, and I am on a little scholarship here that really helps me be able to study here. And I had to go to a couple different advisors. I went to my own advisor. My own advisor didn't really know what was going on. So you really kind of have to put in that work to find out where you're supposed to go, because it's really sometimes confusing. But most universities do have a plan for students who are wanting to take a gap semester or wanting to take a gap year, because it's such a common thing. A lot of people do it because they just don't feel ready to be in college. And so everyone who went on my gap semester who was in college, their university already had, a plan out for these students. So you really just have to go and work those out. In my case particularly, my scholarship would not allow me to take a gap year, because then I would have to reapply to Loyola if I took a gap year. But if I took a gap semester, I would be able to come back and my scholarship will continue on. So that's what I decided to do. And it ended up working really well and flowing perfectly, as I came back to the same school, and I'm finishing up junior year right now.
Yes, and I want to give a real shout out to Sophie, because this is her exam week right now, and she made the time to be here with us tonight. So I think that, of anything, shows how much you love your gap, that even in this craziness, you're like,
yes,
I'm going to be here.
I'm smiling so big. It was the best thing ever.
I love that. I love that so much. Okay, now I want to get in your brain a little bit, right? So thinking about your gap, thinking about yourself before your gap, after your gap, and now looking back, can you talk me through some of the differences that you see in yourself after taking a gap?
Absolutely. If we want to get on a really deep level, truthfully, the thing that I have noticed in my life is the change of self-confidence. So I came into this gap semester not knowing anyone, and I was so terrified because I've never traveled alone for this long ever before in my life. And, I come across as an outgoing person, and I believe that I am, but I was terrified. I was going to all these different countries, and I never had met anyone before in my life. And so it really called for a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness skills. And so we were meeting all of these people, and it was almost like that, just the fresh start, and you're just adventuring and starting new things, and all your senses are being just stimulated by all of these new things around you. And then you come back at the end of the day and you're like, wait a minute, my family is so far away, but I feel so good because I'm just so self-aware. And at the very end of this gap semester, we did a leadership academy, which is something that I will always remember. It was the greatest thing. We were fortunate enough to have these people from all over come speak to us about many different things. And we had a day that was all about self-awareness and understanding what it's like to actually be a global citizen. And we took all of the information that we learned abroad and put it into this 1 week, and really made so much progress in understanding what a leader is and understanding who we are and what we're meant to do in the world. And I think that is really what made me so passionate about this program. And I just want all my kids are going to do it for sure one day.
I love that. And I love hearing about the Leadership Academy too. I think a lot of times we're talking about the different destinations, and of course it's amazing, but I think so much of the experience is also, the people that you meet and the kind of conversations that you have, and this kind of leadership development that's really incorporated into it. So it's really great to hear you reflect on that and think about how that's changed you. Could you also talk a little bit about your other 2 custom modules, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Okay. So I loved mine. So I was in Sydney, Australia for my internship, and I did a digital marketing internship for a company called Ultimate Travel, and it was probably the coolest thing ever. It's an unpaid internship, but the experience is priceless. It's just absolutely, I know I just keep saying this, but I just really want to drill it in your mind that I absolutely loved it. So I would go to work, I would work full time. So I got 160 hours in of professional international work experience as somebody who's still in college. And that is just something that, no one that I'm graduating with is ever going to say unless they went on the same program. So it was so incredible. And some of my daily job tasks were to go take photos in the Sydney Harbor when they took me out on their boat, or just ridiculously, just too good to be true. But other days it was more working with social media, working with website development, understanding Adobe Creative Cloud, which is an essential if you're in marketing. So I learned a lot of skills in a short amount of time, and I expanded my network to Australia, which I think is priceless as well. But after I went to Australia, I went to Tanzania, and I spent 2 weeks in Arusha, Tanzania, which is inland, and worked at a school called the School of St. Jude. The School of St. Jude it's a grade school for students have to get tested and to get to this school, and a lot of the students are from very, very below poverty line areas, and just really the kids are working for the parents. It's a lot to take in at first, and so some of our major responsibility there is to really start speaking a lot of English to the children, reading a lot of books to the children, and just making English more comfortable for them, because it is one of the main languages in Tanzania, and it's the business language in Tanzania. So if more students really learn English, greater success rates for all of these kids. And then I was fortunate to meet graduates from the School of St. Jude, who then went to high school at the same kind of program. There's a separate high school, but it's with the same program, and then graduated and went to the United States for university, and now have gone back to St. Jude School and are redeveloping it into something that's just even better than it was in past years. But my favorite part of my service trip was Zanzibar. So for the last 2 weeks, we went to an island off the coast of Tanzania and worked with baby turtles, and that was really awesome too. We met a lot of people from around the world. That wasn't just, they weren't just from Africa. There's people from Germany, Europe. We worked with so many different people.
That's incredible. I think those two destinations are so interesting and so different too. Like, you really got to have two very different experiences in terms of location and in terms of like what you were doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
so I think that's such a cool combination. Okay, and one more big question, then we're going to open it up to the Q&A area, but this one could go on for a while. What advice would you give to anyone considering a gap, and specifically those who are in college right now thinking of taking a gap?
If you're in college right now, the biggest advice that I have is, before anything, talk to your school. If you have scholarships, see how taking a gap semester could really affect those. And, when I talked to a school, I showed my advisor a layout of the gap semester program. And like, as I said before, most schools already have a process in place for students wanting to take a gap semester, and they're usually geared to the student's benefit. So the school will be willing to work with you. You just really need to put yourself out there and, try to get that done. Because that, honestly, for me, was one of the most stressful parts, is just, being able to get in contact with somebody, that like getting in contact with the right person. And if this is something you're really thinking of, and even if you aren't for sure on it yet and you're in college, start talking to the school as early as you can, because some schools have like a different process. For example, I had to send in a letter of what I plan on doing in my gap semester and why that won't affect me from reapplying. Like, I was signing off saying like I will be returning. But that's just for my school. So it's a different process. So the first piece of advice, definitely, if you're in college right now, talk to your school and start talking to them early, even if you aren't fully 100% on doing the program. And then the second piece of advice, someone actually told this to me the first day of my gap semester, and I thought about it all the time. It's, you get out what you put in. Simple as that. This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for personal growth. This is an opportunity for self-awareness building. It's an opportunity to build relationships. It's an opportunity to figure out what the heck is in this world and why are you placed in it and what your purpose is. And if you go into it with an open mind and understanding that this is such a powerful opportunity. What?
Here we go. Sorry, I think we cut out for just a second, but you're back.
Okay. I think basically you get out what you put in. So you just really, like, the best thing to do is go in with an open mind. Everyone, has their own like insecurities and fears, just like I did. I was so nervous. But it was amazing. And like, a really big piece of advice, if you do plan on going to this gap semester, is to pack light. I went to
pack light.
I went to 7 countries actually, and each of them, it was like a different season, so it was really hard. Like it was January to April, so in Europe it was freezing cold. In Australia it was summertime, because it was summertime, because it was like February-ish. It was end of summer in Australia. and Tanzania, it was super hot. And then I go back to Europe and I'm still super cold. So, but honestly, I only had one suitcase and there were people who brought like 4 suitcases and they just were so mad at themselves for doing that because it's a pain. So if you end up doing it, pack light.
I feel like, yeah, we hear that from a lot of people and then people are still packing heavy, but you got to listen to Sophie. Pack light, you'll be happier.
I promise you.
Oh, I love that. And Sophie, I was wondering if you could show us too your report. You were just telling me about it. And I think it's such a cool aspect of the program, and you can give a little sneak peek into one of the great things that is an outcome of the program.
Yeah, especially for college students. I know for me being in college, I'm always looking for things that like can make me stand out in a job interview or in anything. I just want to make sure that I'm not, the same. I don't want to be average. We don't want to be average here. But so this is something that it's like the analytics pretty much of my entire gap semester. And EF gave this to me as well as a little diploma. I don't have that with me actually. I'm in Chicago right now. It's in my house. From where I'm from, but they give you a diploma and then they give you this is sent in the mail a couple weeks after you graduate the program. So the first page, it shows me I visited 7 countries, which in the end I actually visited more than that because I did a little traveling outside of the program, which is also doable, which is also amazing. Then 2,016 hours abroad, 28,651 miles traveled. And I don't know if you can see this, but it kind of just shows you my map and like what I did. So I truly really traveled the world in 4 months for a cheaper price than a typical semester of college, which I think is really important to emphasize. Also, it tells me about my goals. So during orientation, we write some goals. And so it has my goals here. And it also has feedback from EF. So, EF is really working with you on an individual basis. They really get to know you. You really kind of feel like you have mentors in your life. And you, it's so awesome. I have like 4 or 5 different recommendations pretty much. So like if I come into a job interview and I hand them this, not only do they know that I have global citizenship, international work experience, international service experience, but they also can read what the people who were in charge thought of me and what they thought my strengths were. It also lays out what my top 10 strengths are, which you take an exam, a fun exam, and it gives you your talent DNA, which was part of the self-awareness day during the Leadership Academy. And that's what really showed me like, dang, I am good at things I didn't know that I was good at previously. And then you take that information and you really manifest it. And when you come back to college, you put it into your daily lives and put it into your community. It's really re-engaging with your community, and you have all of the resources and tools in the back of your head from the information you learned, and it's just great. But basically this separates, I think mine's like a 6-page report. It details service hours, it details everything, it details like, kind of the stuff that we learned, and it's just an absolute asset to have as a college student. Then this is a really fun thing we got in the mail as well. This is what's called my cohort, which means the group of all the other students who decided to take the program too. So I think my group had like maybe around 30 or 40. So everyone kind of goes on their separate ways and then reunites at the end again. Some of them are in the same spot, but like, it's just all of these pictures, such great memories. I look back on this and I just feel it in my heart how much I miss it. And then, it opens up into like a huge poster, and this is where all of us went. So all I love that. Just our cohort. So just our 40 people. Each line is one of the people. And then there's like a list of everyone's names and where they're from. So I think another really cool part about this program is you meet people from like all over the United States as well. Like they're all going through the same things with you. So me and my cohort still talk every single day. Every single day we have a Snapchat group, we have a text group, we miss each other all the time because you go through such a life-changing experience together, and you're going through, you know, you struggle together, you miss your family together, you have cultural differences, I experienced culture shock, but I had these people that I just met in the same position as I was, really helping me get through any of the struggles that I dealt with, any anxiety, anything like that. So you really develop a close bond with the people that you are traveling with. And then you meet new people along the way. I have 3 new best friends from Australia that I talk to all the time. It's incredible, and it's life-changing, and you have so many cool resources that you get at the end for just enhancing your life and college experience.
That's amazing. And I think what you said too about the people that you meet is something we hear a lot from students. Like, of course, these are incredible experiences you have in all these different parts of the world, but the people are what really make it. The people in your cohort, the people you're working with in your internship, your homestay family, if you're doing a language module, all of these different people that you interact with are really what makes the experience special. And at the end of the day, that's what you're going to remember the most. And I just think that's such a cool part of it. And it's so cool that you guys get in touch every day. That's amazing.
All the time.
I love that. Okay, I want to move into a few questions and answers. We already have a few questions in there, so if any of you guys have other ones, feel free to add them in now or as we go. We already have a few great ones in here, so let's start with, how did you know what destinations were best for you?
How did I know what destinations were best for me?
That's a great question.
So actually, if you go on EF's website, the EF Gap Year website, they kind of like show you which places work best with which fields that you're in. Kind of, I don't know. It's like, it's really awesome. So if you haven't gone on the website to really check out those, that really helps. But even if you don't know what you want to do in the future, you can just think, like, I didn't care what my internship was. I wanted to go to Sydney, Australia. I've always wanted to go to Australia. And so that's why I picked that. And I've always wanted to go to Africa too. So really, I just chose out of a gut feeling, like, this is where I've always wanted to go and this is where I'm going to go. But if you need help on determining which destinations were best for you, feel free to, I think Rebecca might be able to send out my email or anything like that. I have a lot of people who would be willing to, everyone from my group and my cohort would be willing to help out any other questions about that and talk about it.
Yeah, and we also have a team here in the Boston office who talks with students as they're planning. So, you know, basically what you said, like, if students have destinations that they want to go to, that's great. Like, let's lock you into where, you know, what is calling you from your heart. But we also have students who are like, I'm not really sure, or I've learned Spanish for a long time and I know I want to study it, but I don't know where. So, you know, we're able to help you figure out what path is right for you, no matter where you're at in the process. So, but I love that gut feeling. I think you can't deny that. Like, if you have a gut and you're like, I think I need to go to Sydney, then we definitely want to make that happen for you. Cool. We have another great question. How was the transition back to Loyola? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I also, if you want me to answer this question again, or forget what I say, I just want to, I have on the EF Gap Year Instagram, there's an alumni questions and I'm answering it as well, but I'm going to answer it the same way I answered it there because it's really important. So the transition back to Loyola, EF really, at the very end of your gap semester and going to all your locations, you go to this leadership academy that I was kind of discussing previously, and they really do a good job in helping you prepare for coming back, because I definitely was really upset that I had to stop this program. If I could do it for my entire life, I kid you not, I would be doing it for my entire life. No, it's like, it was really upsetting personally. I was really bummed that I was leaving such an amazing group. I was leaving such an amazing experience, but at the same time, I was enlightened to bring my knowledge back to my home and just tell everyone about it and just bring all of that stuff I learned about the world to my university. And it's transitioning back to Loyola, I've noticed I have higher grades than I did before, which is a statistic that she pointed out. And I didn't realize it until she said it in this Zoom call. I was like, wait a second. Like, ever since I got back from my gap semester, I have not received lower than an A in any class.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's incredible.
It's true. It's like, it really just brought me in. It just makes your perspectives so broader, and you can do critical thinking better. You can, you're more excited to learn because you get to learn so much about the world. You come to these classrooms and you're just excited to learn. It's not a burden to go to class anymore per se.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like too, your internship also give you a lot of really great experience for the particular field that you're going into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. All right. And this is kind of a related question. Someone asked if you second guessed going back to school after your gap semester.
Not at all. Actually, okay. There were times where I was like, I'm going to go back to Australia and just never come back. But like,
that's the dream.
There was like 2 days where I was really determining if I should take all the money that I have left in my savings account to go get a flight back to Australia. But no, I knew that I wanted to come back to Loyola because I really value the education that I'm getting here. And I really valued it before my gap semester too. I had no problems with the school. I love the school. So I really didn't second guess going back at all.
That's great. And I feel like, yeah. And I feel like too, with your love for Australia, it's like, I'll have all those connections there. If you want to go back for a future job or other opportunity, like you have those connections built in. So just because you didn't do it now doesn't mean that you can't do it after you get your degree.
Yeah, and speaking on that, there was a girl who I spoke to. She did her gap semester last fall, and she got an internship in Australia, and then she got offered a full-time job right after.
She was just on our alumni panel the other night, so you guys should check out that video.
I can't wait to go to Australia.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, she had an incredible time there and ended up working for them like both after her program and then like back in the US, she was still working with them. It was like a designer dog, designer dog boutique.
Yeah, it's really cool. Vogue, but it's called Dogue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's such a cool opportunity. She like really loves dogs too, so it was the most ideal job for her. But yeah, we have a lot of students who end up like really making those connections. I think the internships that we can place students in are ones where you're really doing something and you're really both gaining skills and contributing your own skills that you already have there. It's not just sitting and getting coffee or things like that. It's really this kinds of hands-on learning, no matter what you're doing, whether you're at a big company, a startup, a small dog boutique kind of thing. No matter what it is, you're really able to customize it that way.
I just realized I'm that 1%. I got to run outside to the kitchen and grab my computer charger because I was
okay. I'll be here. Great. We have some other great questions. I'm trying to see if there's any I can answer. Oh, someone asked when you should start thinking about applying or when to apply. My answer would be the sooner the better. Like as soon as you know that you're interested in taking a gap, go ahead and start that application process. And it kind of starts with chatting with somebody on our team. We have a great team of gap year consultants who work with students to plan out their trajectory. So they can help you answer questions about questions about what you want to be doing on your gap, where you want to be going. They can help you really talk through that. So I think that the sooner the better is great. And, please reach out to me after this if you're interested in applying and we can get you all set up. Cool. Oh, a question for you, Sophie. You got your charge?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry about that. That's my little brother. Cutie.
Oh, your little brother's on here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. So
I did really miss my family.
You did?
But it was also a welcomed break.
Oh, can you talk through that a little bit? Like,
I miss my family, but I also like being truthfully, like completely honest,
Mm-hmm.
the people that I met who were with me really became my support system. And I know we really, like, absolutely I miss my family, but I wasn't in need of support from them at the moment because I had so much there and just so much positivity and like love in every country I went to. It's like I came back to the United States, and as soon as the first time I came back to the United States, I was in the New York City airport, JFK, and the one of the airport ladies working there was just like looked so mean and was like had like I noticed that she didn't say like she didn't smile or anything, but in every country I was in, like all of the workers were so genuine and kind and happy and just like full of life. So I did miss my family, but I had so much love surrounding me during my time there.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm sure too that like you were able to come back to your family and share this experience with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just am thinking about when I got back from my gap back in the day, just showing my family the photos, and like they actually came and visited my host family. You know, it's those kinds of experiences that you can really share with the people around you that make a gap so special, I think.
Yes.
Did that answer your brother's question?
Yeah, I hope so. I think so.
Amazing. Do we have any other questions folks want to chime in? We're coming up on the hour, but we do have time for a couple more if anybody has any that they want to throw in real quick. I'm not seeing any more pop up, but anything you want to leave us with? I think you've just given us such an incredible overview of the program and your experiences. Yeah.
I do think that sometimes people get confused about whether or not they have to choose an internship, service project, or studying a language. If you take a gap semester, you can choose up to 2, but if you really want, you can only do 1 as well. So if you're really just wanting to learn a language, you can just do like a double semester or double learning a language. That would be for 2 months. So it would be 4 weeks learning Spanish, 4 weeks learning Spanish. So 8 weeks total with the cultural immersion tour and everything like that. So, or you can do an internship the entire time, or you can do a service project the entire time. Going back, if I were able to take all 3, I would, because you know it's priceless. I would do.
I wish we could fit all 3 in a gap semester. It's
yeah.
That's a dream. But yeah, I think there's so many awesome opportunities to customize it to make it fit what you want. Like exactly what you said. We have students who are like, I want to be proficient in French. I'm going to spend 2 semesters learning, or 2 modules learning French, but I still get that beginning orientation and that and leadership academy to really like wrap it up and have it as part of this cohesive gap experience. So I think that's really great advice that like whatever you want to make out of your gap, you can do it, and we'll help you plan for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, with any questions that you have or any questions that you come across, I always felt so supported through EF. Like I had people's phone numbers. I would just call an advisor and be like, what's up? I had a really big scary thing with my passport where I was trying to get visas and it wasn't like sent back to me yet. And they were like, no problem, we'll take care of it. And then my passport arrived the next day. So EF is just such an incredible resource. And so if you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out. And also don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Yeah, we have a whole team here ready to answer your questions. Please reach out to us. And I can connect you folks with Sophie if anyone wants to follow up with her. She's so generous with her time and her energy. And I can feel the love for the program coming from you. And I really appreciate it. And especially during exam week. I can't believe you made time for this during your exam week.
Oh man, what is there to do right now, you know? No, I'm kidding. I would make time for this any day.
Just makes it even sweeter to be able to travel in the not so distant future.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Sophie. Thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight. We'll be following up tomorrow with a link to the recording in case you want to follow up on anything and some more information about our program. So as Sophie said, we're here. We've got a whole team. We're ready to answer your questions and help you plan the right gap experience for you. So have a great night, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye. Bye, Sophie.
Bye-bye.